Michael Clarke Duncan was born on the 10th of December 1957 and spent his childhood in the south side of Chicago. He grew up in the Robert Taylor Homes public housing project, at the time the largest such project for low-income residents in the country. The complex was eventually demolished in 2007 after years of deterioration. Most residents were unemployed, and crime dominated the area. When Michael was 5, his father left the family. His mother Jean, older sister Judy, and Michael remained together. Jean worked as a cleaner for 18 hours a day to provide proper education and upbringing for her children. She dreamed of seeing her younger son become an actor. Jean had once wanted to become an actress herself, but the opportunity never materialized. So she invested those hopes in Michael. Michael's father worked on the railroad and drank heavily. The way his father behaved when he came home intoxicated made a lasting impression on the boy. Michael later never drank alcohol or smoked. When he agreed to star in the 2010 film Redemption Road, he did so because the film openly addressed the harsh consequences of alcoholism rather than glamorizing it. Jean forbade her son from playing football because she feared injury, particularly after several players became paralyzed. She allowed him to play basketball instead. His teammates overheard a phone conversation where Jean told Michael he could not play baseball, calling him "Mama's boy" for years afterward. Michael was not used to lying to his mother and always told her everything. His basketball coach said Michael might have been selected in the top 3 rounds of the NFL draft had he played football for 2 years. Jean encouraged Michael to read and coached him in voice practice, motivating him to read aloud. After his teenage voice break, his voice became a well-placed, deep bass. His peers teased him for reading and loving cinema, frequently trying to provoke fights. His sister, Judy, who had a hot temper, came to his defense. One day, Jean locked the door when Michael ran home from a bully. She told him to turn around and face the boy. He did, and the bully never bothered him again. As a teenager, Michael joined a street gang. The initiation required surviving 20-minute beating. He passed the test, dyed a strand of his hair red, and came home where his mother was cooking. He sat at the table so she would see the red mark. When Jean saw it, she calmly picked up a hot pan and struck him with it, telling him that was the last gang he would ever join. At 6 feet 5 inches and 205 pounds, Michael was one of the brightest players on the Cavaliers men's basketball team at Kankakee Community College in Illinois from 1979 to 1981. He hitchhiked 17 miles to and from campus daily. He played for Alcorn State Braves for a year while studying communications at Alcorn State University in Lorman, Mississippi. He had to return home when his mother became seriously ill and financial responsibilities fell on him. Before reaching Hollywood, Duncan worked numerous difficult jobs. The hardest was digging ditches for the People's Gas Company in Chicago. He dug cubic meters of earth by hand so mechanics could service underground pumps. At night, he worked as a bouncer in nightclubs. Colleagues nicknamed him Hollywood because he constantly talked about his dream of becoming an actor. His mantra was, "Man, I can do that. I can act." A film producer noticed him in a Chicago nightclub and suggested he move to Los Angeles. Another version claims a hip-hop artist invited him to Los Angeles as a bodyguard. Duncan moved to LA to become a star, but initially struggled, sometimes starving and sleeping wherever he could. He spent nights in his car, in his storage unit, or on friends' sofas. He worked as a bodyguard for Queen Latifah, Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, and Jamie Foxx. Duncan once recalled that Queen Latifah, who was smaller then, preferred to get piggyback rides from him to the set about 75 yards away. He worked as a bodyguard until March 1997. In 1995 onward, Duncan went through dozens of auditions without getting roles. After more than 50 rejections, he called his mother and said he wanted to either return home or join the LA police force. Jean burst into tears and told him to stay and realize what he went there to do. She said if he came back, he would regret it years later when he saw someone else on screen doing what he could have done. Michael Jai White helped Duncan get into cinema. White took him to a photographer who made acting portfolios for $40. They gave Duncan a baseball during the photo session, which subconsciously conveyed his body measurements. White introduced him to Dolores Robinson, who provided agency services for actors. Duncan later called her his second mother. His first role was in a beer commercial as a drill sergeant. In 1995, he appeared in episodes of 4 series, including The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Married with Children. He also appeared in the comedy Friday. In 1995, he appeared in a Fresh Prince episode with B.B. King where he had one line, "Shut up." He was paid $1,500 and knew then he was an actor. In 1997, Michael was supposed to work as bodyguard for notorious B.I.G. on the night the rapper was killed. A friend asked to switch shifts, and Michael agreed. He woke the next morning to shocking news. He quit security work that day. In 1998, at age 41, Duncan was approved for the role of Bear in Michael Bay's Armageddon, starring Bruce Willis. It was a prominent secondary character as the first assistant and right-hand man of Oilman, Harry Stamper. The audience loved the big man and remembered many moments, including Bear running from police on a motorcycle, sobbing during a psychiatrist interview, and performing striptease in leopard pants. Michael Bay recalled Duncan burst into tears after the audition because his mother would be so proud. Bay said Duncan's first day was poor, and he considered firing him, but Bay told him to be himself. From then on, Duncan became the most improved actor on set. Duncan met Bruce Willis on the Armageddon set. They became close friends. In 1998, Duncan also played a bouncer in A Night at the Roxbury. In 1999, he appeared in the underground comedy movie and Breakfast of Champions with Willis. When Bruce Willis heard about casting for The Green Mile based on Stephen King's novel, he was sure Duncan would be perfect for John Coffey. Willis used his connections to contact director Frank Darabont and recommended Duncan. Duncan read King's book twice to prepare. Darabont considered various actors, including Shaquille O'Neal, but could not decide. Willis insisted Duncan audition. Duncan impressed Darabont from the first seconds with his softness and gentleness. Though Duncan lacked acting skills for such a difficult role, Darabont hired acting coach Larry Moss to teach him. Moss helped Duncan find the compassion that John Coffey needed. When Duncan connected with love for his mother, the part opened up. Moss told him John Coffey was a Christ figure who had to carry all the pain of the world in his eyes. Darabont later said, the quantum leap from Duncan's first reading to his actual performance on set was the most amazing transformation he had witnessed. Duncan said all the tears in the movie were his. The film crew used shooting angles, lighting, forced perspective, and special effects to make John Coffey look more massive. Duncan was 6 feet 5 inches and weighed 320 pounds, while John Coffey was 7 feet and 350 pounds. A nutritionist helped Duncan reach 345 pounds, buying so much food that Duncan gave some away because he could not eat it all. He had to stop powerlifting for 3 months. Darabont wanted him to look natural rather than like a bodybuilder. Filming was not easy. Of 16 hours of daily filming, Michael spent 10 hours in a prison cells. The most difficult scene involved the 2 dead girls when he had to howl with pity. Tom Hanks helped Michael more than anyone on set. During filming, Hanks stood on the other side of the camera crying, which helped Duncan bring up the necessary emotions. The film brought Duncan real recognition. At age 42, he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. He received the Saturn Award and Black Reel Award. There were nominations from the Chicago Film Critics Association, Golden Globe, and NAACP Image Award. Frank Darabont said perhaps no actor ever deserved an Oscar nomination more than Michael for the role of John Coffey. In 2000, Duncan appeared with Willis and Matthew Perry in The Whole Nine Yards. Despite mixed reviews, it became a box office hit. In 2001, he appeared in Sea Spot Run and voiced Colonel Attar in Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. He received $10 million for the role. Duncan began focusing more on voice work. He voiced characters in King of the Hill, The Proud Family, Static Shock, and other shows. In 2001, he appeared in Cats and Dogs. In 2003, he voiced Tug in Brother Bear. In 2008, he voiced Commander Vakir in Kung Fu Panda. In 2011, he voiced Kilowog in Green Lantern. In 2002, Duncan appeared in The Scorpion King with Dwayne Johnson. The two had met years earlier at a wrestling match. Johnson later called and offered Duncan the role. Duncan brought Johnson to his coach, Larry Moss, for acting help. During filming of a sword fight scene, real swords broke because the actors competed and teased each other constantly. The film grossed $180 million against a $60 million budget. In 2003, Duncan played Kingpin in Daredevil with Ben Affleck. The character was traditionally a white man in the comics. Duncan was initially concerned about breaking the stereotype, but Mark Steven Johnson insisted he was perfect. Duncan gained 40 pounds for the part. He performed all his own stunts because his stunt double was not as large. In 2005, Duncan appeared in Sin City and the Island with Michael Bay. In 2006, he starred in Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. Most of his lines were improvised. He learned to match the pace set by Ferrell and Reilly. In 2009, Duncan became a vegetarian and supported PETA. He removed all meat from his refrigerator, distributing products worth $5,000 to neighbors. He supported the Sue Duncan Children's Center, Safety Harbor Kids, the American Heart Association, and the American Stroke Association. From 2010 to 2012, Duncan appeared in several independent dramas in leading roles. In Redemption Road, directed by Mario Van Peebles, he played one of two main roles. In From the Rough, a sports drama from 2011, Duncan played a leading role. In The Challenger, filmed in 2012, Duncan acted as one of the main characters and executive producer. In The Hive, directed by Robert Townsend, is considered the last film Duncan starred in. Released in December 2012, Duncan played the assistant principal of a special school for at-risk youth. At his funeral, the director showed a fragment with a powerful monologue by Duncan. In 2010, Duncan met Omarosa Manigault from The Apprentice. They confirmed they were dating. He was 52, she was 36. 2 years later, on the 13th of July, 2012, Omarosa found Duncan's heart had stopped. She called 911 and performed CPR. He was taken to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and died on the 3rd of September 2012. After his death, a woman named Marquia Ambrose claimed to be his daughter and sole heir. Omarosa claimed they were secretly engaged and that Duncan rewrote his will in her favor while hospitalized. His family learned she sold personal belongings without informing them. Omarosa organized the funeral, with separate parking for VIP guests and family members. Duncan left his mother money in a separate trust and left his sister Judy $100,000 for caring for their mother. A legal battle over the inheritance continued for years. In 2013, Omarosa sold Duncan's house in Woodland Hills, California, for $1.299 million. If Michael Clarke Duncan's story inspired you, please like this video, share it with someone who loves great cinema, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories of actors who changed the world. His spirit was larger than life, and thanks to stories like this, it will never be forgotten.